When you think of a car that makes a statement, nothing does it better than the new 2019 Mercedes Benz G63 AMG. This is the new G-Wagon, absolutely refined. From the new headlights, completely LED at the front. Before there used to be an LED strip down here, now it's all in one with that new head design. The blinkers up here on top, similar to what they were, but they're a lot cleaner now, so you don't see any more screwdriver holes on the top. When you move over to the side, it's a lot more slimline there. Everything's molded into the panels on the car. The rims are 22-inch up front and at the rear. When you look at the new door panels, the gaps are a lot narrower. So not as big as they used to be before, which stickers underneath used to protrude. When you come over to the back, what you realize is this car is slightly longer and wider than the previous generation. And with this now, it's a lot cleaner looking. Before we had this tail light strip, the brake light, behind the rear glass. Now it's very slim. It's inbuilt into the actual panel. Then the wiper used to come down from the top. Now the wiper is hidden behind the wheel here, the spare wheel. And what's even better is when you used to put the reverse camera on, the camera used to be up here, so this thing used to protrude, so you couldn't really see the car behind you. Now the camera is down there and it's hidden. It pops out when you go into reverse mode. Little subtle changes, but they're exactly the changes that us G63 owners were craving for. We were screaming out because these cars were so safari-like, so prehistoric. It reminds you of Jurassic Park, but now they've revised it and updated it. New multimedia, new design, everything works a lot better. It drives a lot better. It's a smoother ride, and it still retains a V8 bi-turbo, 4 litre, 430 kilowatts, 850 Newton meters of torque, 0 to 100 in 4.5 seconds, making it quicker than the Range Rover SVR. So this is it, the Mercedes Benz G63. Let's jump in and see what the multimedia functions are like. All right, let's start with the interior. Now we've got this new design, quilted seats, so leather seats, and you can also spec them with a two-tone color. So this car here has the red stitching and the red inlays here on the seat. A completely different design. The old car had smaller patterns. Now we've got larger quilted patterns into the seat. And what's also cool with all the carbon fiber features, if you look closely at this carbon fiber, is that this carbon fiber has red inlays in it. So it's completely different. It's not standard carbon fiber like the previous generation. Everything on the dash has been revised, from the new multimedia interface to the aircon unit to all the new controls and everything being metallic. So it's all metal here, so you can press these buttons and it feels like something that's good quality. And what's even better is a new IWC clock in the dash. That's cool. So if you have an IWC watch, unfortunately I don't, this suits you. I know there's so many fans out there that love them. But now let's talk about the new features on the display. Now this navigation looks like it's 10 inches wide. It's massive. Most cars have only a 7-inch screen, and they're usually a touch screen, but I don't believe this is. But what we do have is a mouse and a knob that we can play around and move things around. So you can basically adjust things as you like, as if it's a touch screen, but really it's not. There are so many other features though, not just this navigation. If you look beyond all that, when you go to the screen here and you can adjust all the screen functions on the car. You can go between sport screen, sport display, it changes the rev counter, everything changes. It's more like how Lamborghini used to make these sort of styles. I think it first started with Lamborghini, where you can actually adjust your TFT display. And another feature that I realized that this car doesn't have is heads-up display, so none of that. Because right now the dash is still narrow and thin like the previous generation, but one big but is there's a lot more legroom, a lot more space for adults here. Someone like me, over 6 foot, and I weigh a fair bit, I used to hit my elbow all the time on the door when driving the G63, the previous generation car. Whereas with this, I don't have that problem, and I don't feel as squished up in the front here, especially your passenger. When they sit in here, there's plenty more space. And with the seats behind, there's a lot more room here to put in a child seat. which is a added bonus. You need that because with cars nowadays, everything's become very spacious, and that's pretty much what you need. You can't have a modern day car where it's so narrow, especially a car that's this size and this price, $275,000 drive away. It really has to fulfill the desire of actually spending so much money to buy a car so luxurious. And now what Merc has done is they've provided us with a vehicle that has so much luxury in it that it looks a lot more elegant and luxurious compared to the previous generation. A lot more refined, a lot smoother. The finishes are absolutely amazing. Everything's got metal on it everywhere, on the steering wheel, on the dash and on the doors. But another but you could say is that these window switches and a few other switches have still remained plastic, so they haven't upgraded them like the S-Class, but it's not a deal breaker. This is a new design key, as you can see, and it's a keyless start. And straight to another point, the new cup holders are here in the dash. So much better. Previously there was a net that sat here on the passenger side, and when the passenger sits in the car, their leg always hits that net, which only held one cup. All right, let's check out the back. On your first instance, it's kind of high to get in. So if you're not somebody tall that can reach over, it's a little more difficult. But there's a lot more leg space, a lot more room here in the back compared to the previous generation. And the head space is pretty adequate. So 6'1", I'm fine, plenty of room. And what it feels like is that there's a lot more room for 3 passengers to sit on the rear. And you can also fit that baby seat here without having to move the front chair too much forward. Because if the previous car, from our experience, you put a baby seat in and that passenger chair had to go all the way forward, close to the dash. But this is a lot better, a lot more spacious. If I sit into the middle seat, it does seem a bit higher than the other 2 seats here, but it's still comfortable. It'll get the job done. Overall, when you look at this car, when you're sitting back here, it looks absolutely elegant. Awesome view of the dash. All right, let's check out the boot. As you can see, there's plenty of room for the luggage and for the bow that's sitting there for when you purchase this car. I just fit. And you still have to slam these doors quite hard. But we've summed up this car, we've gone through it. Now there's one thing left to do. That's to take it for a spin. That we start driving, you can clearly tell this is an easier car to drive. It's a lot lighter with the steering, so definitely a lot more refined than the previous generation. It takes corners, still you feel the body sway around a little bit, but it feels a lot tighter. So in the front we've got the suspension now. It has traditional normal suspension with springs and a shock and springs, where at the back it's still that leaf suspension for four-wheel driving. But around the corners, it really does feel a lot more tighter. It doesn't feel like the body's swaying around. So body roll has been minimalized, but it's still there. Clearly it's a big four-wheel drive, it's an SUV. The car is very comfortable. In these seats, I've got plenty leg space, plenty shoulder space, and the seats are just lush. Have to drive this car in Sport Plus. The exhaust valves open up and it's loud. You can hear the bi-turbos slightly, ever so slightly spooling up, but the V8, that is powerful stuff. 850 Newton meters of torque, 430 kilowatts of power, 0 to 100 in only 4.5 seconds, and that exhaust sound, that gets you excited. Right now on the highway, this is smooth, a lot smoother than the previous generation, and it still has so much power. So you put your foot down, you just touch the throttle and it just wants to launch. Where in Sport Plus, this just wants to fly. You can hear that fly. That's what makes this car so different to the rest. Okay, it's $275,000 drive away. It's an expensive SUV, but it's a statement. When you pull up in a car like that, it's, hey, look at me. I'm here in a G63. I'm about to go to Jurassic Park. That's what it feels like, right? But okay, now with this generation car, the new gearbox is a lot more revised. It's smoother. It operates a lot better, a lot quicker. Look at that. Gear shifts are quick, very, very quick. Put your foot down, the throttle response from the bi-turbo engine, the 800 Newton meters of torque, just throw you back and it just pushes on. It's like endless power in this car. Although the top speed's pretty much limited to 240 kilometers per hour, it's still an awesome experience. If sound performance is what you're all about, then this car has it. It definitely does. We're on the highway, any gear, there's power there. Look at that. Just takes off and launches. And the power is just so addictive. And I can tell you right now that this car is a lot smoother. It drives well. It's comfortable. The seating position is absolutely magnificent. The front windscreen, although it's still that pretty much, it doesn't have that slant, but it's not as flat as a previous one. And the windows now have a slight slant to them, so there's not too much reflection from the cars on the outside to the interior, which was a problem in the previous car. But right now, I'm driving in Tiptronic, and I'm really enjoying it. Look at that. You can weave yourself in and out of traffic without any problem, all with ease. And I'm just addicted to that engine, that power, the monstrosity behind it all. Just put smiles on your face. Before you know it, you're doing 100 kilometers per hour. But I'm really loving this new interior, from the dual display LCD screens at the front, to the performance, the engine, the exhaust sound, to the sitting position, so up high. I've got an SUV that's right next to me, just about now, and I can tell you I'm sitting a lot higher than the car next to me, at least 6 inches higher. This sits as high as a truck. So you're on top of the world when driving this car. Believe me, I can't stop saying this, but it does put smiles on your face. It really does. A cool feature about this car, you don't have to lift your hands off the steering wheel whatsoever. So I've got the two screens here. With the left hand on the steering wheel, there's a touchpad, and I can adjust the left hand screen, so I can change everything that's there displayed. As you can see, I can go through the telephone, media, radio, the whole lot. Then for the display screen that's right in front of me on the cluster, I can touch on the right hand touchpad, and I can adjust everything from telephone, radio, navigation, the whole lot. That is something that you don't find in many other cars. First time I've experienced it is in this G63, which works brilliantly. So its stance on the road is absolutely amazing. It looks spectacular. Everybody loves the G63. It is a perfect car to cruise around Double Bay, Vaucluse in Sydney, or if you're in LA, what better than Beverly Hills? In Beverly Hills, these cars are everywhere. Everybody's driving them, from celebs to high rolling rich sisters and the whole lot. Everybody loves and adores these cars. Why? It is that perfect statement car, and AMG has continued that tradition with this new generation 2019 G-Wagon, and have told us yet again, this is the statement car of the year, the SUV that we all want. And what better than the G63?